Welcome back everyone to our Pure Farming 2018 gameplay series. So we're back here on our tranquil Germany map where we're free to slow down everything and not really get in too much of a hurry, because unlike the Montana map, there's not too much to do and not enough time to get it done. We've got plenty of time to get things done. So we're over here at the shop where in our last episode we went ahead and bought a bunch of stuff we're going to need for the field work. We've got our fertilizer over there. We've got a water tank behind us, as well as another tractor, and of course our cultivator slash seeder. Let's go ahead and hook up the cultivator slash seeder, because it is actually time to do that very thing. Wow, this thing is handling... Okay, can we turn? Nope, we cannot turn. Okay, this is going to be very awkward if we can't turn. One of the bad sides about modding things like tractors in is that it can be very hard to get the settings right. That's not an easy thing to get right, and I've noticed that this one has quite a bit of braking torque. Basically, as soon as I let off the gas, we're going to be dealing with that. All right, so let's see. Completely forgot which way to go, and that is the reason for that is something I want to talk about in today's video. So as you guys I'm sure saw on the channel, I have started a Farming Sim 17 gameplay series, and that gives me a rather unique situation for me, because this is a position I haven't been in a while, where I'm actually playing two farming simulators at the same time. Now we're coming toward the end of the series for Pure Farming, but of course we're just getting started on the farming sim, so it gives me the opportunity to really look at these two side by side. Now before we get too deep into that discussion, oh, I actually forgot something. We got to go over by the barn and we got to get some seed. I was in full farming sim mode there for a moment. Let's see, we should be able to drive straight through here. But it's going to give me the unique opportunity, again, for me. Let's see, can I get... No. Yep, actually could have gotten to that. All right, let's turn around and go the other way instead. That'll get us in the right direction for where we're going to need to head back. Okay, you can see we just have the one option. It has to be canola. That's our only opportunity on this particular map. No wheat or anything like that. But yes, I have the unique opportunity to do direct comparisons between the two, because I am, I just got done playing Farming Sim yesterday. So it gives me an opportunity that I can compare the two. Now, I will say up front that my comparison between the two is not what you're probably thinking. I'm not looking to... let's go ahead and put our marker down, even though it really serves not much of any point in this game. And there we go. I was beginning to wonder if it was actually going to lower. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. Make sure everything seems to be working right. It's going to be a very difficult challenge for me to actually go straight. This is why I love for the AI to do so much of the field work, is because I do not have the capacity to keep a perfectly straight line, so it'll be a miracle if we get anywhere close to 100% on this field without me going extremely slow and being very meticulous. Alright, let's go ahead and stop working, get this thing turned around. But the comparisons between this game and Farming Simulator, just much like what I did with when I was playing Real Farm, alongside or very close in proximity and time to this game, it is they're very different games. Farming Sim and this game are very different, I think, in what they're trying to accomplish. So it's not that I am looking at one and saying, oh, this one is great, the other one is terrible. It's not about that at all. I very much enjoy both of them, but I am finding that I have a very different type of enjoyment from each. For example, the moment I loaded up farming sim, it was very familiar. As I mentioned in that particular video, and I think we've already missed a portion of the field. Yes, we have. All right, so see, there you go. I complained about the AI not getting their job done, but I'm not doing a whole lot better here. All right, let's see if we can get this at least reasonably well done. But I find that I enjoy farming sim very differently. Wow, you can see we've got some weird shaking going on there. And I'm trying to pinpoint exactly why my enjoyment of that is so different. Now, I've played Farming Sim 13 and 15 for hundreds of hours each. So there was definitely a familiarity there with Farming Sim 17, even though there are definitely some new and different features and some gameplay elements that I have not encountered before in either of the previous titles that I've played. It was still very familiar. I mean, there's a lot there that looks very much the same as what I'm used to. So this isn't about, oh, this one's bad and this one's, you know, horrible and this one is so much better and all that. It's not about that. It's more me trying to pinpoint exactly why I enjoy pure farming and why I enjoy farming sim, so that I can try to make the most of that enjoyment and try to find the things that bring me the most enjoyment when I'm playing either game. Because as I've mentioned, and the fact that we've done so many videos in this gameplay series for pure farming is a testament to the fact that I really do enjoy playing the game. I enjoy playing different aspects at different times of it, and I think as we've conclusively shown in this gameplay series, for those of you who might not be playing the game yourselves, I mean, there's a lot to do in this game. There can be no question there is a lot to do. From, you know, Fieldwork, which is the obvious place that most people will go from the beginning, but you got to remember, you got greenhouses and orchards, and you've got the solar power, wind power type stuff. You've got, of course, the animals. I mean, you've got a lot going on to do. Some of that is also included in Farming Sim, but it's a very, very different element of gameplay in Farming Sim than what it is here in Pure Farming. I feel like one of the things that in future iterations of Pure Farming, I would love to see Pure Farming do more with the animals. Because in reality, while we can work with the animals, most of what we do with the animals is we simply go over to their particular housing or their pen. We purchase the animals, and then we purchase the pallet food for them, and we're pretty much done at that point as far as the maintenance. Now, we have several pieces of equipment, obviously, to take care of things like milk and manure and slurry and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, there's not a whole lot that you just have to do for animals. That's definitely not the case in Farming Simulator. So there's some depth there that could be brought to pure farming that is already very much in Farming Sim, and I think the opposite holds true as well. There are things that we can do in this game that you don't necessarily do in Farming Sim. But again, it's a very different type of enjoyment, and now that I am playing Farming Sim sort of back to back with playing Pure Farming, it is, some of those things are becoming apparent to me, to the point where it's an interesting contrast. The graphics for both games are really on par with each other. I'm not really a graphics minded person. I enjoy great looking graphics, but I definitely don't break them down and point out strengths and weaknesses in them. With, for example, you know, the shadows in this game look great where they're weak, and I don't do anything like that. If it looks good to me whenever I'm looking at it, then it looks good to me, and that's pretty much it. I don't claim to be any sort of expert with regards to any of this. So I don't have problems with either of them graphically, except for one of the things I have pointed out is the rock formations that we use for borders here in this game. I am not a fan of that, simply because I don't like the look of it. But definitely not to my taste, but I do understand that they have to have some way of creating borders, and they're trying to stay away, it would appear, from doing invisible borders, which you do see in some games where there's a point on the map where you just simply can't cross, and there's nothing physically in your way. It's just simply as an invisible border that's keeping you going anymore in that direction. Also, before we get too far along, I need to mention that I might actually be getting a phone call during this video. Normally I don't say that, and it doesn't happen very much during our videos, but today there are at least 2 particular phone calls that I couldn't turn the phone off or simply move the phone out of the room and take care of that. There are 2 phone calls that I really need to take that in there is a possibility that I will be receiving those. So if the video pauses and we sort of take a jump in time, then that's probably why it has happened. Some things have been happening here recently that have led to the fact that there are some very important phone calls that I need to receive, and unfortunately they might come during our time together. So one of the things that I would like to hear from you guys, and again, this is not going to be a bashing session, because as I mentioned, I greatly enjoy both games very much, but what is it about, particularly if you're playing both games, what is it about this game in pure farming that you really enjoy? What is it about Farming Sim? Whether it's Farming Sim 17, 13, 15, whatever it is. What is it about that game or that series that you enjoy? Because it's interesting to me to see sort of the contrast between the 2 games and the styles with which they go about their business. Because in fact, I think that comparison is very worthwhile given the map that we are currently playing on, which, as I mentioned in the last video, I am starting to think more and more that this is about the perfect map for this game, because this game simply doesn't utilize the AI to any real extent. You might have noticed that once we got started working this field, that it was at 100% plow, and that's because I went back afterwards and I fixed all the spots that the AI missed. And it's also one of the reasons why I'm going ahead and doing the cultivating process myself here, is because the AI in this game are not good. There's no way around it. It's been quite a bit of time now since release, and very little improvement has been made, if any, in the long-term viability of the AI. So this is a game where I feel like a map this size, now granted, you could ask for maybe a couple more fields or something along those lines. I'm not saying it's literally perfect in every way, but this is about the perfect size for a map in this game, given the way they have chosen to go about laying out the game. And in fact, if they threw a couple of orchards on here, then you'd really have basically all of the gameplay elements in the game on one map. So this is intended to be a more relaxed atmosphere, because you've only got the one field and you've got a few animals to take care of, and that's really about it. It's supposed to be a more laid back, a more slow gameplay experience. And I feel like we have run out of seeds. Let's go ahead and get everything. There we go. Let's go ahead and head back over and pick up some more seeds. Another one of the benefits of using AI is the AI will actually purchase the seeds and add them to their cost, so you don't have to worry about the AI running out of seeds during this whole thing. All right, let's go. $210 fills us back up on our seeds. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and just move that marker up. Kind of like it being there, but like I said, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose in the game. So, at least not for me anyway. I don't really have anything that I'm not skilled enough to put it to use. All right, let's get ourselves lined back up. Let's see how good of a job I can do with this. All right, I think that's going to be about the best job I can do with it. All right, let's turn around now that we've gotten through there. All right, looks like we got it. Which, if I sound surprised, it's because I am. Really didn't expect to do as well as we're doing currently on the field. All right, but yeah, I'd like to hear from you guys, again, especially those of you who have played both series now, between Pure Farming and Farming Sim. Just what do you enjoy about either game? And what do you wish that either game would do differently or better, or add to the experience that maybe one does better than the other, to make a more complete game? We know that the name of the game is competition, and if we can have competition, is only really viable if you have quality competition. So I feel like this game is quality competition. Now, granted, it's nowhere near as far along in its development. Uh-oh, this is going to get tricky here. It's nowhere near as far along in its development and player feedback and all of that as Farming Sim is, but I feel like they have a very good start, and if they can continue with this, it has some real potential for the future in my eyes. Again, I'm not trying to make any claims that one is going to overtake the other or anything like that in the future. Time will tell on that, and I'm not a fortune teller. But I do feel like they have some good elements in play, and I'm really interested to see what happens with Farming Sim. Ooh, look out. What happens with Farming Sim 19. Now, I know we're going to get some more information coming up at E3 that begins this weekend about Farming Sim 19. We'll have to see how much more information we get about it and what type of information, that kind of thing. But I'm interested to see where they go. It would appear as though they're going to go with some graphical updates. We'll have to see what sort of gameplay updates they might be adding. But all of these things are very exciting, and I know that all of these developers are paying attention to each other, just the way competition works. So I am very excited to see, as time goes on, where the developers of Pure Farming decide to go and where the developers of Farming Sim decide to go. There's no question that Farming Sim developers are leading the way right now. That's not even up for debate right now. But in the future, if the Pure Farming guys are really able to ratchet up and keep up the good work and really ratchet up with some new features and improvements, particularly to the AI, then, who knows where things might go. All right, that was actually really neat. Actually, it's one of the few times I've actually had an opportunity to listen to the sound as we're actually headed down the row that this particular, the cultivation, I'm sure it's the cultivator discs that are actually making that sound rather than the seed drill itself. There's a lot going into making one of these games, and I definitely feel like the Pure Farming guys are on the right track. I wish I had some sales figures to share with you guys. That's something I haven't really looked up, because the reason those are important, not because they would give us an opportunity to look at how many copies Farming Sim 17 has sold versus Pure Farming. It's not about that. That wouldn't even be a fair comparison at this point. What it would be about, however, is to see if Pure Farming has sold enough copies to make a sequel and to make a series a viable option for the developers in the future. because it doesn't matter how good a game or bad a game might be, it really all comes down to the support it gets through revenue. If it doesn't get the revenue, then you're not going to see any more titles, and you're not going to see long-term support for the series, because there's simply, it all comes down to money at some point or another. There aren't too many billionaires out there who are making games in their free time just because they want to and really don't care if they sell or not. That's not really something that happens a lot in the gaming industry that I am aware of. So we are stuck with getting more of what we buy. All right, this tractor is kind of acting weird on me. It's pulling to one side, and I've already noticed that the braking is I feel like is off quite a bit. If you'll notice the front tires, as soon as I let off the gas, and I'll try to show you that here when we get to the end of this row. As soon as I let off the gas, the front tires want to lock up. Yeah, there we go. You can see the right front sliding there. And it does it pretty much immediately, regardless of the speed that I'm going. So that is messing up the handling, because a locked up tire is definitely not going to do you any favors. As any of you racers out there can testify to that. Yeah, locking up tires does not help the handling of the tractor or a car. Yeah, listen to that sound. Not sure how they came about their sounds, but whatever they did, it sounds good to me. I'm enjoying it. Don't know how realistic it is, because I do not own any of these pieces of equipment that we're dealing with in game, but it sure sounds nice. Yeah, there we go, pulling hard to the side, which is something I could definitely imagine it doing in real life, given that you're dealing with the plowed rows on the field. I could definitely see it pulling to one side or another depending on how the tires line up in or around those rows. All right, now that we're at sort of the end of the field, it is very hard to get turned around. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get lined up. The tractor is easy enough to get lined up. It's harder to get the planter lined up, the seed drill. There's definitely that sensation of whenever we get started on a row of the tractor and the implement sliding across the ground. Again, it's not a terrible thing. It's just something I'm not used to in the game. For the most part, you don't really feel the bumps that you would expect to feel in a real life field. So anything that you get that reminds me of that just feels weird in the game. All right, one final trip down, and we will have this sucker planted. There's a couple more things I want to take care of in today's video that actually I had intended to do in our very first video on this map, but simply didn't get around to. All right, we are at 99%. I'm waiting to see if it goes to 100, because I feel like toward the beginning we missed just a little bit. Let's see if I can figure out where it is over here. I see one little spot there. Is that it? Surely not. I find it hard to believe that I would have made it all the way through this field and this is the only thing I missed. So at the risk of messing up our lovely looking graphics here on the field, all right, that takes care of that. And now I'm going to do what every farmer would cringe at seeing. I'm going to drive across the field and see if I can figure out where the other part of it is. We're so close to 100%, and I don't see anything that I missed. But it must be there somewhere. But I don't see it. So yeah, let's just continue driving across all the hard work that we just did to see if we can find that fraction of a percent is probably all it is. I don't see it. That is odd. Okay, well, I guess we'll actually going to drop this off right about here. I don't have a designated area. To drop off things. You can see that's where the plow ended up, along with the other tractor. All right, and the other thing that I wanted to make sure I got done today was right over here with the chickens. I had talked about before the fact that I really like, even though I have no plans whatsoever to deal with, you know, purchasing and dealing with the chickens themselves, I still like to have the buildings built, and because money is not an issue for us, I'm going to go ahead and build these rather than looking at the lumber sitting on the side. I'm a little bummed out we didn't get 100% on the field simply because we're so close. So close, and I don't really know what we missed. I may take, after we're done filming here, I might take another stroll across the field there just to see if I can find that little bit. I expect it to be much farther off than 1%, so it's not the end of the world, but all right, let's take a step back here and sort of see what we've got. Okay, yeah, that definitely looks better than the pile of lumber that we were going to have there. All right, so I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, think about it, guys. Think about what it is about the different games, and in fact, include Real Farm in that if you want to. I know it's been a while since we played it here on the channel, but be thinking about that. What are some things that you enjoy about the Pure Farming series, the Real Farm series, and the Farming Sim series? And also, what are some things that you wish each of those could do better? Maybe it's features that are missing, maybe it's graphics, sound, whatever the case may be. And just keep in mind, this is not a bashing session. If you don't enjoy the game, that's perfectly fine, but try to pinpoint what it is about the game that you don't enjoy. Let's try to be constructive about this, because you never know when developers are paying attention, and they might see something that gives them an idea, or they might see something enough in enough different places that that it adds it to their list of things to do. You just never know, and it couldn't hurt to give some constructive feedback. So that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned as we continue on the Germany map here in Pure Farming 2018.